Her husband's sisters all laughed at her, saying that they cannot believe that their brother married his fellow man who had no womb to bear children, and this pierced Uwa's heart as she wondered what she had done wrong in life. Uwa, out of desperation, decided to go to the river to seek for a child from the river goddess, but was chased away and warned by the goddess never to approach her river again. Once upon a time, there lived a woman named Uwa. Uwa lived in a small village with her husband Chuka, who was the popular furniture maker in the village. Uwa and her husband have been married for so many years and we are yet to have a child of their own. Her husband Chuka, unwilling to wait anymore, got several women in the village pregnant and was threatening to marry one of the women who had a son for him. Uwa spent her days weeping as she could not understand why it was proving difficult for her to get pregnant. All her mates were all married with grown-up children, and Uwa, despite being married for over 20 years, was still yet to hear the cry of a baby in her home. Her husband's sisters all laughed at her, saying that they cannot believe that their brother married his fellow man who had no womb to bear children, and this pierced Uwa's heart as she wondered what she had done wrong in life. They even accused her of sacrificing her womb to the devil, as they believed she was possessed by an evil spirit. Uwa, out of desperation, decided to go to the river to seek for a child from the river goddess, but was chased away and warned by the goddess never to approach her river again. This made Uwa confused as she wondered why all these were happening. One evening, Uwa was returning home from the market when a young woman holding a baby approached her and offered to give her the baby. The young woman had just given birth to a baby and was unwilling to keep the child. When she heard that Uwa had no children, she decided to try her luck with Uwa to see if she would be willing to adopt her baby. To her greatest surprise, Uwa agreed to take the baby. However, something strange happened. When Uwa tried to take the baby away from the young woman, a huge lightning struck, and this scared the baby's mother, who changed her mind and ran off with her baby. Uwa returned home that evening, filled with her own thoughts. Many strange things were happening around her, and she could not figure out why. The next morning, Uwa was in a market stall when a young woman approached her stall and met her lost in her own thoughts. As the young woman tried to attract Uwa's attention, she heard a strange voice which told her to tell Uwa to search within, as there lies what she had been looking for. The voice also told the woman to tell Uwa that she, Uwa, was the one behind all that had been happening to her, as she was being punished for what she did many years ago to her friend Ekene. Immediately the young woman told Uwa this, Uwa broke down in tears as she began to recount all the horrible things she did to a woman she once called a friend many years ago. This was when Uwa newly got married to her husband. She had a neighbor who became her very good friend. Her name was Ekene, and she was married to the popular palm wine tapper, and they lived peacefully with everyone in the village. Uwa was so jealous of Ekene because of how nicely Ekene's husband treated her, but she never showed Ekene her jealousy. They became very good friends, and at a time we are inseparable. Their issue began when Ekene gave birth to her only son, Chibundu. What had happened was that when Ekene gave birth to her son, She never allowed anyone in the village to see her son, not even her friend Uwa, and this infuriated Uwa, who felt sidelined because she did not have a child of her own. Gradually, their friendship began to turn into enmity, and although Ekene tried to explain to Uwa that she had her legitimate reasons for not allowing anyone to see her son, Uwa could not hold herself from being bitter towards Ekene. As the months passed, Ekene and Uwa became sworn enemies, and Uwa warned Ekene never to come close to her again, as she never wanted to have anything to do with her. Ekene was so heartbroken by this, as she really wanted to tell Uwa her reason for not allowing anyone to see her son. One day, whilst Ekene was washing some clothes at the back of her hut, Uwa snuck into Ekene's hut to catch a glimpse of her son. To her greatest surprise, Uwa noticed that Ekene gave birth to a child with no legs. Immediately Uwa caught sight of Ekene's son. She began to laugh hysterically, and this attracted the attention of Ekene, who rushed to see why Uwa was laughing. To Ekene's surprise, she saw Uwa strolling out of her hut laughing. Bewildered as to what had just happened, Ekene confronted Uwa to ask why she did what she did, and Uwa said to her that she cannot believe that it was that incomplete son of hers that she was shielding like a golden egg. Uwa then went on to say that instead of God to give her a child as horrible as Ekene's son, she prefers to remain childless all her life. Uwa continued to laugh as she walked off, not minding the hurtful words she said to Ekene. All through that day, Ekene cried her eyes out, as she could not believe how heartless Uwa was to utter such words about her innocent son. When her husband returned home late that evening, he met Ekene in tears and wondered what had happened. Ekene narrated all that happened to her husband, who out of anger rushed off to Uwa's hut to warn her to stay away from his family. Uwa at this point was all alone in her hut, and instead of feeling remorseful for what she had done, she began to scream at the top of her voice, saying that Ekene's husband tried to rape her in her hut. She tore her clothes and began to scream for help, and the villagers all gathered in front of her hut and began to beat Ekene's husband up. They beat him so hard till he gave up the ghost, and Ekene could not believe that her beloved husband was gone. "It is all my fault," she said to herself as tears poured down her eyes. The whole village then proceeded to Ekene's hut, chanting that Ekene had to leave the village as her husband committed an abomination and his whole family had to be banished because of this. Ekene pleaded with Uwa to tell the villagers the truth, but Uwa pretended not to know what she was talking about. That was how Ekene and her son were banished from the village, and no one heard from them ever again. Uwa continued to live her life as though nothing had happened, not knowing that she had brought a curse upon herself. Uwa, on hearing that her actions many years ago was the root cause of her barrenness, began to search for Ekene everywhere. She moved from one village to the other, looking for Ekene, but no one seemed to know who she was. For years, Uwa prayed and hoped that she would find Ekene and her son to seek their forgiveness, but she never got to find them till one fateful day, when she bumped into a very old woman who told her that she knew where Ekene and her son were. Uwa was extremely excited and pleaded with the old woman to take her to where they lived, and the old woman took her to the graveside of Ekene and her son, who died on the same night that they were banished from the village. They were killed by a ravenous beast in the forest, and the old woman witnessed everything from a distance, but was too late to save them. Uwa stood by their graveside, weeping as she wished she could turn back the hands of time. She regretted all she did to them and wished she never allowed her jealousy to take the better part of her. That was how Uwa lived all her life barren without children, as her husband left her to marry another woman who had several children for him. The lesson to be learned from this story is that we should never allow our jealousy to lead us into making irrational decisions that affect the lives of those around us. Learn to respect the decisions of others, even if it does not sit well with you, as you never know the reasoning behind their decisions. Last but not least, never mock a person because they are different from you, and always be careful of what you say, as words are very powerful and can change the course of one's life. I hope you enjoyed the story.
Like, subscribe and leave a comment. It helps us grow our channel. I'll see you in our next story. Bye.